TDX has an increasingly large pool of towers to choose from a literal warship to a troll phase for some reason. TDX provides a wide range of ways to kill whoever is dumb enough to challenge the GDA. But sometimes, some towers get buried beneath the pile of options despite being pretty insane in my opinion. So here are the 3 most underrated towers in TDX. Grenadier is often overlooked because it can easily be replaced with Slammer most of the time. But what makes it good is that unlike Slammer, it has a wider range that can be buffed and it can also attack enemies behind short obstacles. While it can't stun bosses, it's a pretty solid option if you need an early game splash tower that can stun enemies on maps like GDI Port and Cow Annoyance, where corners and just sightlines in general are blocked off by obstacles that Grenadier can bypass. It can also deal a good amount of damage, so it won't be completely useless damage-wise in the late game for game modes that are around elite mode scaling. Grenadier might be overshadowed by other towers, but I encourage you to try it out on maps with short obstacles. It might surprise you with how useful it is. Or just spam air and spawner towers, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but you rarely see anyone using Toxi, even though it's actually a pretty good tower. It not only deals pretty good damage over time on its top path, but it can also hit 99 enemies at once with its gas clouds, making it a really good option for wiping out the fodder crowds for modes like Elite. Let's also not forget the craziest thing it has, which is its enemy debuff that makes enemies take 30% more damage or 10% more if it's a boss. Combine this with other supports if you're playing with other people, and most bosses will get absolutely shredded. It's a good splash tower that can be used in the early game that also has a really good debuff ability, so it really makes me wonder why people aren't using this tower. The last and currently most underrated tower in my opinion is Laser Gunner. It has stealth detection on its base level, it can target enemies after a few cheap upgrades, it can be used as an early game tower, it's a laser damage type tower, has an ability that can permanently reveal stealth in its bottom path while also dealing a decent amount of damage to the enemies that are hit by it, and also has an insanely good crowd controlling stun ability for its top path that also temporarily buffs its own damage by 20%. I didn't even know that before researching for this script. That's actually pretty insane. You can use it for both Elite and Expert mode as an early game tower, and you also wouldn't be handicapping yourself by using it because it's actually a pretty solid option even compared to the more pro towers. It's extremely versatile while also being very cheap, with its only downside being its relatively low DPS compared to towers like Juggernaut, which makes it so you can't depend on it for late game DPS. Despite this, people, especially noobs, should use this tower more because I think it's a really underutilized and underappreciated tower. So, those are the 3 towers that I think are really underrated. They aren't completely broken, but they're still really useful, so I urge you to try them out if you've overlooked them before. It's really easy to just resort to using the same loadout over and over again, even if they don't work well in some situations. I understand that, since TDX really likes to make you repeat the same exact thing over and over again, which makes the strategy making a portion of the game feel like an annoying obstacle. But maybe trying out some of the towers that you wouldn't usually use might just give what you need for some strats. Anyway, that's all I had to say. Like and sub if you want to support my channel. Bye.